Hi, we are live today and we are talking about one of my favorite things in the whole world to talk about, and that is the thyroid. And the reason that I love to talk about the thyroid is because I have, at this point in my career, probably done over 1,000 discovery calls. And that is where I jump on a phone call with somebody and find out what's going on with their health and listen so that I can try to help. And one of the things that I get the most calls about and work the most with is the thyroid. And I think the reason that my kind of healthcare, functional medicine, is so important in this is because people aren't loving the answers that they're getting from their conventional doctors, mainstream medicine. They're feeling all of these symptoms of a thyroid problem, like they can't lose weight, they're tired, their hair is thinning and falling out, they are cold all the time, they feel like they sleep for 12 hours and they still need a nap in the afternoon. Things like this, they don't have any energy to do what they want to do, and they have all these conditions that point to a thyroid problem. They go to their doctor and their doctor says, okay, I'll test your thyroid, and they run one test and they say, hey, your thyroid looks good or it doesn't look good, or whatever they say about your thyroid. In the meantime, what is happening is this person really does have a problem, and it's just getting missed because the analysis and the way that the thyroid is evaluated in a lot of cases is, I think, leaves a lot of room for improvement. So that's why I want to talk about. I'm calling this like a dirty little secret about thyroid testing, and here's why. Um, here's some statistics, and they're pretty sobering. 1 out of 5 women and 1 out of 10 men in the United States have a thyroid problem. Most of them are not getting attention that they need with this. They don't know they have a problem. That the other thing, when you back that up and you start to look at the problem, you find out that 80 to 90% of the time, someone who's been diagnosed with hypothyroidism or thyroid slowdown, the main problem is actually not the thyroid itself. This is a secondary problem. So when the medical community comes along and fixes the thyroid, they give the fix that they have for the thyroid. It's not fixing anything because the root of the problem is something else. So let's talk about that and break that down. So most of the time, if you say to your doctor, I want my thyroid tested, they run a test called TSH, which stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. And the way that it's done in most medical practices is they run what's called a TSH with reflex. And if you've had yours tested and you get out your lab testing, it'll say that on your Quest, LabCorp, whatever hospital ran it, it'll say TSH with reflex. And all that means is that if my TSH value, my thyroid stimulating hormone value, comes back within their reference range that they say is acceptable, the test is over. There's no more tests get done. We say everything's fine. We move on. We tell you that we've evaluated your thyroid well, but here's what we did. We saved the insurance. We saved money because their thought is, well, if let's start with this TSH as a screening test. If there's not a problem with it, then we don't need to move on any farther and do anything else. That is very efficient in terms of saving money. And if you're an insurance company or a hospital or something like that, and you're seeing millions of people and you're thinking in terms of profit margins and not spending extra money that you don't need to spend, and how can we limit our costs, and then this test makes perfect sense. And if you see medicine like that, maybe it does make perfect sense. And there is, I would say there's definitely a conversation that needs to be had about cost benefit and when to spend money on tests and when not to, and all of that. But here's the problem with that, is that a lot of those decisions are made by people who aren't healthcare practitioners, right? They're just thinking about the bottom line. But when the healthcare practitioner and the patient have that conversation directly, like I do in my office, and I communicate what I'm communicating in this little video that I'm doing live, and we talk about it, then you get to make the decision. And so what I'm trying to do here is bring you information that you can use so you're empowered to decide, do I want to pay for this information or not? Even if my insurance company says I don't need it or whatever, I want to tell you this. So if you feel like you're fitting into that group that's slipping through the cracks, that has a problem that's undiagnosed and untreated, and you're not getting the help you need, then you know you have some options. And the other thing you need to know about TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, is that the reference range that is being used to say, hey, this is fine, abort the rest of the tests down the road. We don't need to go any further and explore your thyroid. That reference range is way big. It's in most labs. If you look at the reference range, you'll find it's somewhere between 0.5 and 4.5 or 5 on the top end. And all that is saying, where do 95% of people fall for that value? It's all about standard deviations and statistics, and it's not about health. So what ends up happening is, if you're communicating to someone, well, as long as you fit in that reference range, anywhere within there, if you're down at 0.6, just right above the very lowest level, or you're at 4.3, which is just above the highest value that they consider acceptable, they're going to call that normal. That the problem is that we know that people feel better and function optimally when that TSH value is in a much tighter range between 1 and 3. So that's the first problem, is they're using a screening test, and then they're using this huge range that most people fall into even if they have problems. So you've got a lot of people that are stuck in that range where their TSH level is 3.6, 4.1. They feel bad, and they actually are having some symptoms, and they have a struggling thyroid, that they're going to slip through the cracks on that, because the medical community is not going to investigate any further, because, hey, that TSH is in range, you're good to go, your thyroid looks fine. Okay, so that's one way to run that testing, is to say, I'm going to run a TSH with reflex. And so that way, on behind the scenes, what's happening is that you're only paying for a TSH level unless that comes back out of range, and then they run a few more things, and if those are out of range, they run a few more things. And so from a cost benefit, like we said, the financial administrators and insurance companies and people making financial decisions are saying, oh great, well then this is a way to save money. But from someone who has looked at a ton of thyroid labs and worked with a lot of people to solve this problem, here's the downside of that. If you do have a problem and you're fitting into that group of people whose TSH is 3.5, 4.1, so you're subclinically have a slow thyroid, you're getting missed. And then there's no more discussion, there's no more help, there's nothing. And so when I run a set of labs on someone, I have 8 things that I'm looking at on the thyroid, and I go ahead and start there. And I do that because I don't know how to have a really good conversation with someone about their thyroid unless I have all the data and all the information that I need to really have that conversation. So we start with the TSH, but the TSH is really, it's not even a thyroid hormone, it's a pituitary hormone. It's secreted by the pituitary gland to tell the thyroid hormone how much hormone to produce. So I don't know a whole lot about the thyroid if I'm only running the TSH. All I know is that the thyroid and the pituitary gland, there's some good communication going on there. That's what that value really tells me. It's more about the communication between the pituitary gland and the thyroid than it is about the thyroid doing anything. So if that's all I have, I'm missing a lot of the picture. Then I look at, there's something called T4 thyroid hormone. And if you have your labs done, you can see if you've had that done. Sometimes they'll put T4 on a thyroid panel. It's not that often, but I do see that sometimes. So especially if you're taking a medication for hypothyroidism and it's a T4 medication. Some doctors will monitor that to see what's going on. Okay, so let's talk about what that is. T4 is an inactive form of thyroid hormone. It's what, when the brain tells the thyroid gland to step up its production of thyroid hormone, then we produce the form in, of T4. It's the form we produce. So think of that thyroid stimulating hormone as a thermostat, if you will, to crank up. If the brain is perceiving that the body needs more thyroid hormone, like you're cold all the time, you need some more energy, you need to lose weight, things like that, your body cranks up thyroid stimulating hormone. The pituitary gland produces more of that to tell the thyroid, hey, I'm giving you a little kick in the pants to produce more thyroid hormone. And T4 is the primary form of hormone that is produced. Now, it's very stable, and that's why it's produced, because it can hang out until it's needed and converted into the good stuff and utilized. Well, but it doesn't do anything. So you can have great levels of T4, but it doesn't convert into the good stuff, which is the T3 form of the thyroid hormone. And at the nerdy scientific, what's really going on is we're taking a molecule with 4 iodines, we're chopping off an iodine. So we go from 4 iodines, T4, down to 3 iodines, makes it T3. And then that way the receptors can pick it up and do something with this hormone, this T3 hormone. And so if I have, say, when I look at a panel, if I'm looking at someone and their TSH is a little bit high, so that lets us know, hey, the brain is telling the thyroid gland to produce a little more hormone. And then I come back down here, I would expect to find T4 a little bit on the low side, that form of the thyroid hormone, because the brain is thinking that we need more of it, right? So that's the first. I'm assessing that communication, and then I would expect, if T4 levels are good, I would also expect someone's T3 levels to be good, because that means they're taking the T4 that's produced by the thyroid gland, chopping off the iodine when it's needed, and then that T3, we have plenty of that good stuff. That's the stuff that makes our hair good and makes us lose weight and makes us have energy and things like that. So if, say, our TSH level looks good, our T4 level looks good, but oh, wait a minute, T3 on the low side, then we start to ask better questions. Why do I have plenty of T4, but I'm not converting it into T3? Now I can ask, okay, if that's happening, I can go back and I can cycle back through the reasons why that might be happening. I could be missing some nutrients like zinc, selenium, iodine, B vitamins, vitamin D, things that help convert that. Super common. And that might go back to digestion. That might go back to my digestion isn't good. So even though I'm eating these foods and consuming these things with all of these nutrients, I just am not absorbing them. So we have to unpack a lot of things there. Maybe my liver isn't doing a good job, because 60% of that conversion is happening in the liver. So maybe it's the liver. 20% of that happens in the gut. How many of us have sluggish liver, and gut problems, gut health problems? It's like everyone, right? So that's why sometimes the thyroid problem, when we peel back all the layers and we really look at it, it's not even a thyroid problem at all. It's a conversion problem. So that's a pattern I see a lot. And then the other thing, I always put antibodies on somebody's thyroid test, because that means that the antibodies ask the question, is my thyroid gland under attack by my own immune system and being broken down? If I have high levels of something called thyroid peroxidase, abbreviated TPO, or thyroglobulin, abbreviated TG, antibodies, if I have high levels of those, it means that my body is attacking either the thyroid gland itself, which is TPO antibodies, or the buses that take the thyroid hormone and drive them where they need to go. Those are TG antibodies, thyroglobulin. So if that's happening, if I have a body that is attacking my thyroid gland, even if my thyroid gland is now slowing down, the real driver of that is not the thyroid gland. He just happens to be a victim of the immune system. So now if I really want to make progress and solve this problem, I have to look at the immune system as the root cause. And so that's why, and that is the in 80 to 90% of the time when a thyroid slows down, it's because it's under attack by the immune system. That's huge. So all of the thyroid hormone that the medical doctors are throwing at it to fix the hypothyroidism is not really solving the problem. Now, some people feel better when they get the thyroid hormone because the thyroid gland is under attack and it's kind of limping along, not producing a lot of thyroid hormone if it's being destroyed. And so sometimes that when we come in with a little extra thyroid hormone medication, it makes us feel a little better. About 40% of the population reports feeling better on a synthetic T4 thyroid medication. But that leaves 60% of people who have a problem not getting the help they need. That's a big number. But that's where, but the statistics jump to like 90% start feeling better when you start unpacking the root cause and addressing diet and lifestyle and adding all those pieces to the puzzle. So we go from a 40% success rate with treating thyroid conditions to 90% by doing it different and looking at this. But I can't help people do that if I don't get all that data on lab testing. If I'm just looking at a TSH level, I don't know what's going on. I don't know whether they're producing enough T4. Are they converting the T4? What's their liver doing? What's their gut doing? Are they under attack by the immune system? So that's why I wanted to share all this information with you, because that's a big number of people that I talk with on a daily basis. Is they either think or they know they have a thyroid problem and they are not feeling like they are getting the help that they want and they deserve. And I think you should know why thyroid testing is done the way it's done and be given an opportunity to choose something different if you would like that. So I wrote about that in my blog this week. And if in all of the comments on all the places that I'm live, there's my link bio. So my blog is there, podcast and all of that. So if you want to see like a written description of all these tests and things like that, that's all there written out for you. And if you want to talk to me about, like, you have a question specifically about you and your thyroid, you can book what's called a free discovery call. That means I'll just give you a call and I'll step you through what I look for when I'm doing this and how that works. So if you have questions, I'm happy to take those now. And if you want to wait and connect with me privately, some people don't want to ask a bunch of questions about their health on a Facebook Live or a YouTube or Instagram or wherever you're watching this live, if you're doing that. But I am happy to help, and I hope this information was helpful to you. There's so many people that I feel like this applies to. Share it. Please help me spread the word if someone else is looking for a solution for their thyroid. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.